Good day, viewers at home. My name is Esther, and I'm here to teach you how to make cake or cake baking. So this is a tutorial class for beginners that want to learn how to make cake from the scratch. We are going to make it in 2 sections today. The first section will be the baking class, while the second will be for the decorating. So for the baking, we are learning 2 different types of cake. The first one is vanilla cake, while the second is the chocolate cake. So welcome to my class once again, and let's get started. So these are the materials and the ingredients we'll be using. The materials are, we need a spatula for mixing the butter. We need a bowl, a mixing bowl, where we'll mix the butter. We need a spoon to scoop the batter, should in case we want to scoop into our baking pan. This is our egg whisker. We use it in whisking egg. We use it for the cake as well. And this is also our palette knife. It's also called spatula. We use it for scraping while mixing the butter, or scraping the batter while mixing together. So this is our knife, as we already know. This is our scissors for cutting. This is our grater. We use it in grating nut milk. So this is our sieve. We use it to sieve the flour and also icing sugar. So this is our board where we place the cake after baking. And this is our baking pan. We have here the size 6 and we have the size 7. This is size 6, while this is size 7 square. So now the ingredients for baking the cake. So here, this is our butter. I'm using Napa butter. That is what I use in baking my cake. So this is Napa butter. So we're using 2 in baking the cake. So it's been opened with the scissors. After opening, we press it into the mixing bowl. I'm using hand mixer because I'm using my hand to mix because it's not everyone that have a mixer at home. I will have used a mixer. It makes it more faster, but that is how we teach beginners, so that we know how to mix with our hands. Then anyone can bake like this. We can easily make use of this. So I'm pressing the butter into the bowl where we'll mix it. We are using 2 butters to make this cake. So each butter is 250 grams. It's already written on it. This is margarine. We also have butter for baking. This is cooking margarine. We are using margarine. We can also use butter for baking as well. We have salted and unsalted butter, but this morning we are using margarine for the baking. So this is our 250 milligram. This is our 250 gram of butter. Then I'm using 1 more, making 500 grams. So this is our butter. I'll measure the sugar right now. This is our measuring set. We have our measuring spoons here, and the quantity is written on it already. Like this one, it's half a teaspoon. This one is 1/2 teaspoon. This one is 1/4 teaspoon. This one is 1/3 of the teaspoon. While this one's a tablespoon. 1 tablespoon, half tablespoon, and 1/3 of the tablespoon as well. These are measuring cups also for measuring liquids. So this is 1 cup, is equivalent to 1 cup for measuring sugar, and is also 250 mils. Should in case our recipe is in mils, not cups. So this is 250 mil. This is half the 250 mil. That is 125 mil, or half cup. So this is 1/3 of this cup. This is 1/4 of this cup. So everything is written on it. We just need to follow the right recipe to get our right measurement to get our cake. So now we'll be using the 1 cup, the big cup, that is 1 cup, to measure our sugar. So this is our 1 cup sugar measurement. So we are using 2 cups for this recipe for the cake. This is 1 cup. You can see it's exactly 2 cups. So we are using 2 cups for the 500 milligram. For each 250 milligram of butter, we use 1 cup of sugar to 250 milligram of butter. So because we are using 2 butters, which is equivalent to 500 grams, we use 2 cups of sugar. So we have added our sugar to the butter. Then the next thing we are adding is our cake softener. This is called cake softener. So it makes the cake soft and fluffy. So we are adding 1/3 cup to these 2 butter. You use the 1/3 measurement to the 2 butter. So this is it. So now we are going to mix. We are mixing the butter, sugar, and the softener together to make it soft and fluffy. So we'll keep on mixing, stirring like this till it becomes faded. The yellow color will become faded. It will be like light cream, very light cream color, and it will be fluffy. You'll see it as if it will be light. It won't be as heavy and thick as this. So now we are mixing. So you can mix in a clockwise or anti-clockwise motion, whichever one is comfortable. So this one we are going to make is plain cake, plain vanilla cake. This is a vanilla cake. So after this one, I'm also going to teach us how to do chocolate cake. No more making sound. Then you can see the color has changed and it's now fluffy. It's not as heavy as it was before. You can see it's very fluffy now. It's even dropping off from the spatula. We are done with our butter and sugar mixing. So now we'll go on to the next step, so which is the egg. At first I said we are going to use butter, 250 grams per each. So we used 2 butter here, and we used 2 cups of sugar. 2 cups of sugar to 2 butters. So if you are doing just a sachet of butter at home, which is 250 grams, that means you use just a cup of sugar. So to 1 butter and 1 cup of sugar, we use 4 large eggs. We're going to use 4 large eggs. So for the 500 grams butter, we're going to use 8 large eggs. So the recipe is 4 eggs to 250 grams of butter. So now that we're using 2 butter, which is 500 grams, we're going to use 8 large eggs. Then that is where our egg whisker comes in. So we use the egg whisker to beat the egg to make it fluffy, just like we have done to the butter. So now we're going to break our eggs. This is 1. And the last one, which is 8. So now we're going to beat the egg with the whisker. This is how to hold the whisker. You have to beat like this. Continue beating till it turns to white. You can see that this is yellow in color, but we continue beating very hard. If we don't want to use our hand mixer, we can always use the electric hand mixer as well to make it easier and faster. But for beginners, I like to use the hand mixer. So we can see that our egg is now foamy. This is foam. So this is how the egg look. It's now foamy and the color is now cream color, not that yellow thick color we had at first. And it's very light now, just like foam, you can see. So now we are pouring our egg into the butter and sugar, the mixed butter and sugar. So now we're going to mix the egg with the butter and sugar we already mixed. We're going to mix everything together again. So this is how it will look. This is our egg mixed together with the butter and sugar. So we'll set this aside, then we'll move on to the next step, which is the flour. We are going to sieve the flour now. So this is all-purpose flour or bread flour. It's very common in the market. So we are now going to sieve our flour first to get rid of lumps. Now sometimes there can be dirt in this flour, so we can't still. We have to just sieve. So we are done sieving our flour. So the next thing is we are going to measure the flour in scoop into the mixed batter. So this is, since our butter measurement is 500 grams with 2 cups of sugar. So now we're going to use 4 cups of all-purpose flour. If you are using 250 grams of butter, you are going to use 2 cups of flour. But now that we've used 500 grams of butter, we are using 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 4 heap full cup of flour. So this is 1, 2. So we can turn it in bit by bit so as to ensure for easy mixing. So I've put 2 cups of flour into the butter and egg. So now I'm putting the remaining 2 cups of flour, 2 heap full cups of flour. Before I put the 4th cup of flour into our batter, I want to mix the baking powder before I put it there. Baking powder makes the cake rise. It's a rising agent. So in cake making, we mix all the wet ingredients separately, then the dry ingredients separately before turning everything together. So I'm going to use the teaspoon. So I'm putting 1.5 teaspoonful of baking powder into the flour. This is 1 teaspoon. We can see on the measurement, or 5 ml. So I'm putting 1. Then we have the measurement for the half as well. This is for the half teaspoon. So just leveled teaspoon I'm putting into our batter. Then I like to mix my baking powder with baking soda as well. Baking powder is different from baking soda. I know we are all familiar with this. This is baking soda, or we also call it bicarbonate of soda. Bicarbonate of soda. So it's also used for cooking. Some people use it to cook our jute leaf, locally known as ewedu. So I've put the 1.5 spoon of baking powder into this. So now I'm putting half spoon of baking soda as well into it to give me 2 spoons of rising agent. So baking powder is a rising agent that makes the cake swell or rise. Likewise, the bicarbonate of soda. So I've added the 2 rising agents into the last cup of flour. Then I'm going to mix it, fold it in very well. So it's thoroughly mixed. I'm using my cinnamon. This is called cinnamon. We can always get it where we buy our cake ingredients. It's a kind of flavor. It's used to give the cake a flavor, an aromatic smell. So I'm putting 1 tablespoon of cinnamon into this dry ingredient as well. I'll mix it together before folding everything into the cake. So I'm going to mix it well. Turn it into our cake. So making 4 cups of flour that we have here in our batter. Then I'm going to mix the batter well. So we'll mix everything together till it becomes smooth. So this is what our batter will look like. So the next thing we're going to do is that we'll put our vanilla flavor. That is why it's called vanilla cake. You know, I said at the beginning of the class that we are having 2 different types of cake. The first one is vanilla and the second one is chocolate cake. So this one we've been making is the vanilla cake. This recipe, this one we've been preparing is the vanilla cake. We have added the vanilla flavor to it to give it that smell, that sweet vanilla smell. So now this is our dry gin. We are using it for our preservative, to preserve the cake. So we use it as preservative instead of the powdery one. We can always get the powder one where they sell cake ingredients. There is powder preservative. But the reason why I'm not using it is that it has a chemical substance already used in the baking powder called tartaric acid. So adding it again will make it much, the tartaric acid much in it. So it always give it an aftertaste, like a kind of little bit bitter taste. So I don't like using the powder preservative. So I'm using dry gin as my preservative. For those of us that has money that want to bake our rich cake, our homemade cake, we can always use rum or brandy. So they sell it at supermarket or wine shops. So now I'm going to add my dry gin into it. So I'm adding 4 tablespoons of dry gin into our batter. The reason why I'm adding 4, I will have just added 2. But the reason why I'm adding 4 into the batter is that the heat from the oven is likely to reduce the potency of the gin. So instead I will add 4 before we bake, or after baking the cake when it cools down, we can also add the preservative, but then we are going to add just 2 tablespoons. We'll spread it on top of the cake. But since I'm adding it into the batter, that's why I added 4 tablespoons into it. So we'll mix very well so that it can incorporate into it with the vanilla flavor. You can see that we'll have a very smooth cake now, not too hard and not too watery. So this is our batter. Then the next thing now is that we'll grease our baking pan. So we'll use butter. A little bit of it will be okay. So we'll grease the baking pan so that our cake will not stick in it. We can easily remove it from the baking pan by greasing with butter. So this is it. You just use your fingers to spread the butter into the pan. That is how to grease. So I use my finger to spread the butter around. I've greased my pan now. Then I'm adding a little flour, dust of flour. Just sprinkle a little flour into it. Then I shake it in my pan. So you can see this is how it will look like. So when we pour our batter into it and bake, we'll be able to remove it easily without sticking on the pan. That's the essence of greasing it. So now I've greased our pan. So with this batter I've made, we're going to bake 2 cakes out of it. So 250 grams for one pan, 250 grams for the other pan. So we are baking 2 cakes. So I think we're done with the mixing of the cake. So now we're scooping our cake into the baking pan. We're scooping the batter into the baking pan. So I'm trying to level it so that it will be balanced when the cake is done, so that it won't be high at one side, then the other side low. So this is what our batter look like in the baking pan before baking. So now we're going to put it in the oven and bake for 15 to 20 minutes. Then our cake is done. Now our cake is in the oven, and this is the concluding part of the baking of the vanilla plain cake. So the reason why we are not going to open our oven before 15 minutes is that the cake might fall. If we open the oven when the cake is still rising, it will definitely fall because of the air that will enter into the oven. So we don't normally open the oven to check. So exactly after 15 minutes, I'm going to open my oven. Then I'll check my cake by using a toothpick. I'll put a toothpick in the middle of the cake, then bring it out. Once the toothpick comes out clean, without any stain of the batter, then that means our cake is done. Our cake is ready now, and this is how it looks after baking. You can see the color is golden brown. It's not too brown, and it's done. You can see we've checked it with the toothpick. We always use toothpick in checking for the cake whether it's done or not. So if you put the toothpick in the middle and it comes out clean, that means the cake is done. We've done that, and the toothpick is clean, as you can see. So that means our cake is ready. So this is how it looks like. So that is all for this class. I hope you enjoyed the learning, and I hope I made every of my explanation simple. So thanks for watching, and I'll meet you in the next class. Bye for now.